Well, let's talk about the tools that people might be able to develop. Reba, I know you started to say something there. Can you pick up on that?
I can if I think about it for a minute. I wasn't going to talk about tools, but
I meant just what were you going to say?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think people are already, they're ignoring that there's a pandemic still because vaccines are happening. And I say this because I know people who are just like, fuck it, I'm over this pandemic. I'm going to go get laid. It's already happening. And like, first of all, medically speaking, coronavirusly speaking, that concerns me. And if folks are ignoring the medical advice that we're having regarding the pandemic, I wonder what other medical advice are they ignoring regarding safer sex, around negotiations, around anything. Like Reed said, like we're starving, many of us. And yeah, I think it's going to be like the Roaring 20s, and it's just going to be no cares, do whatever we want to do. Something that comes to mind for me is pre-pandemic and now, I really enjoy the environment of, say, a sex club, being in that sexually charged space. And I'm wondering if places like that have the opportunity to, once they're open again, to be able to help foster safe, slow ways to take sips of water, as Reed was saying, as part of that. So turning to places that already are a sex positive space, starting there, that's kind of what comes to mind for me. As far as just like individuals, I don't know. I think it takes a lot of discipline.
It could be like slow Tuesdays at the bathhouse.
Oh, right.
Club.
It's interesting. The idea of slowness comes up. One of the podcasts that I listen to regularly is called Shameless Sex. We're actually going to be having Amy Baldwin as a guest on later on this year. And I know that at Shameless Sex, just one of the pieces of sex advice they have as one of their guiding principles is go slower than slow, and then slower than that. And it almost sounds like that would be a principle to follow as you're reintegrating into any kind of social life and sexual social life outside of the pandemic. Is that what I'm hearing?
But could I also say though,
yeah.
it also feels, it's like going to the buffet and telling someone to just take one plate. Like we can say that. They're not going to. It doesn't matter. Like it's not going to be slow. Yeah, it's not. It's gonna be pandemonium. Part of me is like, okay, awesome. Like I love the idea of so many people having sex. Fuck. I want everyone to fuck. There'll be so many less problems in the world if people just fucked more. But I want that fucking to happen in ways that are consensual and fun and pleasurable and exciting. And that's the piece where it's like, okay, what kind of fucking is going to be happening? And since they're going to do it, how do you give them the tools to do it in a way that's conducive?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's almost like, Davey, like whatever. Now I'm just imagining because I've never been on one of your sets, but like the setup for everybody to get, in alignment for shooting the scene. It would be nice if there was like a pedestrian version of that, because now we're kind of going back to what we were talking about before, like in straight culture, like there isn't really like the map is like what you see on romantic comedies or something, right? Like you're not going to ruin the moment by having a conversation versus like on a porn set, having conversations on a good porn set is how you get to, we're going to start shooting now. And like, what would be that version where you're right? Like human beings are just going to fucking go, wild. But like, is there anything we can do to front load it so that at least they're sprinting out into something a little bit more soft and cushy and just not broken glass? I don't know. My analogy just went out the window. Might
I suggest, Reed and Davey, that this conversation here, having a video on YouTube, as silly as that might sound, could be part of it. I know it can be easy to think that, you can't just tell everybody to take one plate at the buffet. Everybody's just going to dive in and eat if they're starving. But if the message is out there, if one person in that buffet line has heard the idea, maybe I should just take one plate. I agree with what I've heard about that being the healthier, safer choice, and I'm going to trust that. That's one more person doing that than would have if that message wasn't out there in the first place. And maybe they communicate that to others. Of course, we're going to have a rush on this, just like I've heard the whole mask situation, people wearing masks are not being compared to seatbelts. Whereas now we take them as, of course we all wear seatbelts. But when seatbelts were introduced in the late 60s, it took a while for them to catch on. And with the mask, we just didn't have a while for them to catch on. Just as when we start reintegrating, we're not going to have a while for people to learn to go slow. But the more the message gets out there, the more seeds get dropped. Reba, please.
Well, I was going to say both with seatbelts and with masks, that information was given to us through a public service announcement. And we don't really have that option when it comes to sex, unfortunately, as like a real public service announcement that comes from our local government or what have you. And so I think it's up to influencers, and it's up to, not that it has to be, but I think it can be if influencers are willing to do public service announcements, or like what you just said, this is a type of public service announcement, or the best to our ability that we're capable of doing. So I feel like we need to get all the sex people to like rally together, which I imagine is happening already.
Maybe we can get Dr. Fauci to be like, hey, everyone, slow down. Don't take the whole dick right away. I don't know.
Do you just look for any opportunity to break out your Fauci?
It's a good day when I can legitimately break out my Fauci.